Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We are at the chapter that I both love and hate. It's sort of my nightmare in a way.
I know. So let's
I also love
let's
it.
just get it out of the way. Let's get
So, everyone, I've alluded to this in the last episode. This is a very challenging chapter for me because of what the monster is.
should I say it
You can say the word
once? Okay, so
once.
the worm.
Yes. I just feel so stupid.
It's okay. Speak your truth, girl. It's all good.
Thank you. It's a very triggering word for me, and all I'll say is I had an incident with an apple once. That my boss gave me from his backyard. I think you can decipher from there what I mean.
Yeah.
So even the mere mention of that word makes my stomach churn.
Mhm.
So for that reason, we're going to call it something different. Corinne
Yes.
has graciously allowed me to call it something different. We're going to refer to it as the monster or the creature. Either one, I'm sure it'll be interchangeable. But just know that's what we are referring to when we call it that in this chapter, because
Yep.
if I had to say the word, there's a fair chance I would definitely be gagging. I might have to get up and puke otherwise.
Yeah.
I had to literally plan when I ate around this while reading this chapter yesterday. I had to plan my dinner for tonight around this episode. I'm like, we're doing soup.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre trigger I have.
We all have our things.
Yeah.
And, I want to say bravo for getting through it.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're getting to, this is a safe space for you to share these things.
Thanks.
And so, thank you for fighting through it. So we can do this episode.
Thank you for holding space. You know what's so
Always.
funny is there was a literary reference I wanted to talk about that I'm sure I can't imagine Sarah J. Maas was not referring to in this chapter. But I'll say now it's Dune. If you've ever seen Dune, there is basically the same exact creature in that series.
Yeah.
I've read Dune.
Yeah.
And it comes up way more in Dune.
Way more. Yeah.
This is really the only chapter. I mean, we know by the end of this chapter it's killed by Feyre, so it's the only chapter we see it in ACOTAR. I was weirdly pretty okay. I think what it is hearing the word isn't as bad for some reason as reading the word. I don't know why. I don't know why my brain does this. And then seeing it on a screen, I've seen both versions of Dune, the David Lynch version and the Denis Villeneuve. Fine. I'm fine with it. I think because it's giant.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the one that triggers me, the tiny one. But when I see the word or see one in real life, I can't. I can't do it.
Fascinating.
I know, right?
Fascinating.
Study my brain after I die.
I was gonna say, there's a really fascinating mental study there.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid of snakes pretty severely.
Yeah.
But when it's movies where it's gargantuan, not of this world kind of snakes, I can totally handle it. And so I think it's just when it's something that we know we would never actually experience.
Nothing in reality.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So yes, we will be calling it the creature or the monster.
Yes.
Ariel, I'm going to apologize now if I have a slip up.
It's okay.
I'm going to try really hard.
You've been great with it. I don't think in talking about it with you so far, I don't think you've slipped up once. So,
well, I care about my baby girl. I just want to make sure that, she feels okay. Okay. So that's it's
the silliest thing.
That's the warning, I guess we have to do at the beginning of this one. My Cauldron Saved Me is kind of a sweet little shout out to our sort of I would call her a sort of unofficial 4th member of the pod.
At first I was like, "Who's the third?" And I
Yeah.
realized David,
Yeah.
of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah. So the 3rd is David, who is our lovely editor and Ariel's husband and one of my dear friends. And I would say our 4th unofficial one, who we have mentioned many times, is my friend Deidre. It is her birthday tomorrow,
Happy
and I
birthday.
just wanted to give her a little special happy birthday.
Whoop, whoop.
And also just sort of she is a mother now, and watching this evolution, this new portion of her life, of our life together, this new adventure, it's been really, really, really beautiful, and she's really handling it in stride. And I'm just so proud of her and her husband, and just, I'm so thankful to the Cauldron to have someone like her in my life, and I cannot wait for when Ariel and Dee finally fucking meet. It's
It's
absurd.
crazy we haven't met. Like, what I think it's funny because you two became friends. I think it was after we moved to New York,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it's like Corinne and I rarely get to see each other. Like, and when we do, it's usually like for a day when I'm like visiting the Bay. Like
yeah,
her when she visited down here, that was like a very rare, like
yeah,
we got to see each other for multiple days. So like, because I've thought about this before, like, I'm like, "Okay, logically, I understand, like,
yeah,
how we haven't met," but it
yeah,
still is, like, crazy that we
yeah,
haven't met.
yeah, yeah. It
But
it's it it's pretty absurd, but it will happen, and it will be really, really, really beautiful
I'm
when
so
it does.
excited.
So,
Happy birthday, D.
yeah, happy birthday. So yeah, that's my Cauldron Save Me.
Nice. My call to save me is, I finally so I've been working on my next script, and usually how that works is I hardcore outline before diving into the script. And this one's been weirdly taking me a while, even though like I've known for quite a while like what story I wanted to tell. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna give too many details because it's still pretty fresh, and I like to,
Yeah.
like to guard my baby a little bit before
Yeah.
I put it out in the world. But I was getting so stuck on the third act. I just like could not figure out what to do because like it gets crazy. It's a what I will say is it involves crime,
Yeah.
this story.
Mhm.
Corinne knows what it is. But I was just like, how absurd do I get with this? And I didn't want to
Mhm.
go too absurd with it. Um, and I finally on Friday just hunkered down. I was like, okay, gonna do this. Mind you, with the help of an edible. Did do that. And I finally just figured it out. And I was like, oh, we did it. So I'm like going over just like the final edits for this outline, and then I'm gonna send it off to my wonderful manager for him to look at, and we're gonna keep on drafting. But yeah, I
Oh my
feel
god,
it's
you
like,
finished.
yeah, basically. Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my
mine when
god.
finish the first
I'm the
draft
first
of the
yeah, yeah, I
outline.
know, I know, I know, I know.
But
But still, oh my gosh,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. It feels
Yeah.
good. But I'm just happy. I'm happy to finally get it out of my head.
Awesome. Good job,
Yeah.
baby. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm so
Thanks.
happy for you. That's awesome.
Speaking of horrors,
Okay.
let's go.
Chapter 36. So we left baby girl sitting in the cell for a while, and then she gets pulled out, and it is time for the first task.
Boy, is it a task.
I love this chapter. I so much.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly,
It's a
yeah, because
great
it's
chapter.
it's a really good chapter. It's an extremely cinematic
I was gonna
experience.
say from a filmmaker
From a
standpoint, it's
filmmaker standpoint,
gold.
this is just like, it's just so it's so tasty. It's so tasty.
Although budget-wise, a
Oh, what a
nightmare.
nightmare. What a fucking
Like
nightmare. Yeah. What a nightmare to try to this would take them a month, like, to film, probably. This is like Helm's Deep style. Like, I love how, like, I feel like in the last 4 episodes I've brought up Helm's Deep somehow. But anyway,
a great reference,
thank you.
honestly.
Thank you. Yeah, this chapter, I just think Sarah does such a good job of making it such a meal for all the senses. Like, she
Yeah.
gives you so many things, but, like, starting from the beginning, Feyre is basically thrust into this gladiator like environment,
I was
right?
just about to say this is Gladiator.
Oh, it's hardcore gladiator. She's
Yeah.
thrown into a arena, and
Of mud.
even a mud arena basically, and Sarah starts off with all of these like these sound descriptions, even the concept of like, or the imagery of like Farah being kind of walked through this sort of dark tunnel coming out into this arena, and she's hearing the sound of the crowd and everything. Like, if any of you guys have seen the movie Gladiator, like this is just so evocative of that. It's so exciting because you can just feel it, like, because even the usage of like the cacophony of laughter, shouting, and unearthly howls worsened when the hall opened up into what had to be a massive arena. Like, immediately you're there, you hear it, you feel it. It's also just this kind of terrifying idea of like Amarantha, I think, wants to continue to heavily distract the fairies that are under the mountain with her. And
Yes.
so she's like, I'm going to give them some entertainment. We even
Mhm.
find out that there's a lot of betting going on, that they're betting on if Feyre is going to make it or not. Like, it's so Gladiator.
I'm so glad you brought up Gladiator and then Amarantha distracting because and like, I'm not an expert on this, but like if you know anything about Roman history,
Mm-hmm.
sort of the purpose of these gladiator fights were for the aristocracy to distract the common people from the corruption that they were doing. So
Right.
I think that's a really good analogy, honestly, to make. And I'm sure that is partially what SJM is doing here too,
Yeah.
is, let's not forget all of these fairies are trapped by
Yeah.
Amarantha,
Yep.
right? And she can't have them revolting against her at any point. So what does she do? She gives them the bloodlust that they want.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's so many shows of power during this whole scene as well, because
Mhm.
she has the high lords around her,
Yeah.
and like she's having them stand on this like particular platform that like Amarantha is on.
Which I forgot until rereading was floating.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to get into, is like that's another show of power. She's
Yeah.
on this floating platform that can like move around the
Yeah.
edges of this like labyrinth pit situation that Feyre is in.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of just like shows of power. It's very scary and wildly intimidating. It's overwhelming. And I mean, also another show of power. She has her hand on Tamlin's knee.
Yeah. Who's right
Ugh.
sitting right next to her and whose face is still blank. She
Mm,
says on page 317, Tamlin's face remained blank. And that is I like we talked about last week, I'm having some real mixed feelings about it because I think we established I think at this point we've proven at the very least if he is under a spell, there's still like he's able to break through somewhat of it, right?
yeah,
Because like the moment when he like I think we talked about how in the chapter where Feyre makes the bargain with Amarantha, he like looks to Feyre and is like in this way he's with his eyes saying like don't do this, right?
yeah.
So we
Well, even
know
even in the last chapter when
yeah.
Lucian almost gets his mind fucked
Yes.
by Rhysand, Feyre notes that Tamlin like is looking at his brothers and like all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I really think at this point we have to question is there a secret strategy that Tamlin has that he's doing and I mean we did kind of talk about like if he shows any concern for Feyre, Amarantha's going to just torture her more, right?
Yeah.
So like to that degree I get it, but man is it rough.
Dude, it's like my note pretty much was like I am growing very concerned for like a myriad of reasons of just this like this dead faceness that she keeps getting from Tamlin. And I mean, honestly, to like jump really far to like the end of the chapter
Yeah.
when she, you know, accomplishes her task and everything. There's this moment on page 327 where Feyre's like, his green eyes were bright, and though his face was deadly pale, I could have sworn there was a ghost of triumph on his face.
Yeah.
And so she gets a little something, but it's like, it's just like Feyre's at this point where she's looking for like eye twitches. She's going to respond
Right.
to like anything. And it's just, I'm growing very concerned for Tamlin. I'm now reaching a point where I hope he's under a spell. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Because
Yes.
if not, bro,
Right?
what are we doing?
Well, and I think, you and I feel like probably a lot of our listeners are the types of readers and just people who love stories who were not particular fans of like the damsel in distress and
No.
then the white knight comes and saves
Yeah.
them, right? Like that's one thing, but I think it's another thing to have because like Feyre has proven she is no damsel, right? Like she is a tough broad who can, you know, make her own way in the world.
Mhm.
And she is also still human. She
Yeah.
is mortal in a world right now in Prithian of immortals
Yeah.
who are, I mean, this task, I don't think most fairies would survive,
No.
let alone a human girl. And it's a fucking miracle. You know what? I'm not even gonna say it's a miracle.
No.
It's
It's
she uses her smarts to
yes.
accomplish her smarts and her skills that she developed as a survivor, as a hunter to accomplish it. Like this is truly all Feyre badassery, right? Which is why it is such like for all the reasons I it's hard for me to get through this chapter. Like I still love it though because it is so fucking rad what she accomplishes and how she accomplishes it. But going back to the Tamlin of it all, it's like I would not if he were to step in,
Mhm.
assuming just for a moment that he is not under a spell,
Right.
he doesn't have a strategy or whatever. If he were to step in, I would not view that as like he's saving the damsel in distress. It's like no, no, no. He's like this someone probably needs to help her at some point. I mean, this task, we see she can fare on her own. But like I remember after like reading this for the first time being like, if this is the first task, what the
Bro.
fuck are the next?
No, I know. Like, this is how we're starting? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus. But, like, because I think my thing is, like, it's not even really like I want Tamlin to step in because I'm loving badass Feyre. It's almost like I just want any kind of reaction to him. Like,
Yeah.
even the warning that happens at
With
the
Lucian.
end, right? On page 325, we get Lucian
Yes.
yelling to her, "To your
Yeah.
left," right? And that's when the monster comes through the mud wall, right?
Yes.
Because she kinda loses it for a second.
Yeah.
And in that, like, I literally wrote, like, "Wait, ta okay, I guess if he had done that, the level of, um punishment was probably pretty severe. Like maybe there's a world that we could think that like Tamlin is kind of relying on Lucian to sort of be his voice for him in these situations because he's in a space where he can't really say much. But I think that's really more what you and I are talking about is like we want
Yeah.
some kind of reaction from him
Yes.
because it's just like anything. Like
It
I just it's just it's starting to hurt kind of.
Yes. You know what it is? It's not that we want him to save her. We want him to send her aid in
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah.
Like you point
Which
out perfectly, Lucian does. Like that I would consider that aid.
yeah.
Also Lucian fixing I mean, we talked about last week how like Tamlin there's no way he could go into her cell, but like something along those lines.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also a world that we could maybe believe that Lucian ended up going to the cell to help her
Yeah.
because of Tamlin,
Tamlin
like we
asked.
can only hope.
Well, because I think about from the standpoint, especially in this trial, like this first
Mhm.
trial, let's say Feyre in some alternate world, Feyre didn't survive
Right.
this challenge. His last his last interaction with her is just looking at her blankly.
Yeah.
Like that's that's devastating. And, like, that
Yeah.
could happen at literally any moment
Yeah.
while she's under the mountain.
Yeah. Or, like, the last thing he said to her or about her is that, like, "I don't know this woman," which, okay, like, that was fair. He was still trying to sell
Yes.
the whole Claire better moment, but, like, yeah, Amarantha with her hand on Tamlin's knee is just so, like,
Ugh.
my note is literally like, "Bitch, back off." Like, it's just so
Yes.
it's so frustrating.
She then makes just I mean, she always makes things worse.
Yeah.
And on page 317, she tells Feyre, "I took the liberty of learning a few things about you. It was only fair, you know." And Feyre then gets yanked up by the adder and thrown, which, I mean, just being around the adder is
Is
fucking
terrifying.
terrifying,
Yeah.
let alone be touched by the adder.
Mhm.
Thrown into this labyrinth, which I do wanna come back to the concept of the labyrinth in a second, but first, Amarantha says, "Rhysand tells me you're a huntress. Hunt this." Um, I
Honestly,
mean,
it's so good. It's so
it's
good. Like,
I
and in that one moment, I'm like, "Yes, Amarantha, go off, queen." That's a fucking kick-ass little, like, hunt
it's
this."
very cunty.
It's so
Like
cunty. It is so cunty. Oh my god, it's so good. And honestly, like, it makes me so happy that you named the last spoiler episode Queer Coded Diva.
we should tell because we talked about that in the spoiler half, and this because this isn't a spoiler. At the end of the spoiler half of the episode, we talked I'm just gonna summarize here.
Yeah.
We talked about how we think Amarantha is actually quite queer coded in
Yeah.
both that, like, both in the sense of, like, how the queer community kind of has rallied around certain villains, like Disney villains or like slashers in the horror genre. Like Amarantha feels like she falls within that canon because
Yeah.
of her style, the way she talks, like just like her absurd level of evilness. Like
Yeah.
it's feeling very like I think we compared her to like Ursula in The Little
Yeah.
Mermaid, who
Yeah.
is, for those who don't know, literally based off of the drag queen Divine. So
Yeah.
like Amarantha kind of feels like a bit of a drag queen in some
Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah.
We also hypothesize that she could very much be a super closeted femme lesbian, which is just my headcanon at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. And we just kind of said she just needs some like sweet, sweet loving from a
Yep.
lady, and then
Yeah.
maybe she'd be okay.
The mercenary, I think we decided.
Yes. Yes. We decided her and the mercenary should absolutely get together.
A forbidden love, but
But yeah, this moment. Ugh,
ugh.
it's so good. It's so good.
Yes. So she says, hunt this. It's horrifying and amazing.
Oh yeah, so good.
Real quick though, I do want to bring back the what we talked about last week about the concept of the labyrinth,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because the word labyrinth is literally used in this chapter on page
Yep.
316 as she's being brought out. She says, "I did my best to keep my chin high as I beheld the exposed labyrinth of tunnels and trenches running along the floor." So she is literally in, I mean, if we're going to get really technical here, it's a maze, I
Yeah.
believe. And I can't remember if we said this in the spoiler free episode or the spoiler episode, but we were talking about how the argument could be made that each one of these trials represents a larger labyrinth on like in the metaphoric sense for Feyre. Like it brings her deeper into herself. And we kind of had said like it'll be interesting to see as we go through these trials if that works with this metaphor.
Mhm.
And at least with this first trial, I absolutely think it does.
Yeah.
Because I'd forgotten I think we talked about like the first trial is bringing up Feyre's survival, like the trauma she has endured, having to survive and hunt in the woods growing up. I'd forgotten this whole part where Amarantha says, "I learned a little bit about you. Rhysand told me you're a hunter." So, like, it literally, she does it because of Feyre's past trauma as a
Yep.
hunter. So, I think it works. The theory is it's currently standing. We'll see if
Yeah.
it stands with the other two trials.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really excited to see that. And see, she literally called it a labyrinth too. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what is really kind of fun is that Amarantha thinks she's doing something very cheeky and clever.
Yeah.
And really at the end of it, it bites Amarantha in the ass.
Yeah, it does.
Because first of all, Amarantha doing any kind of research on Feyre's past is terrifying. That's
Yeah,
terrifying.
yeah,
No, no, thank you.
yeah,
But it really, like, she basically embarrasses Amarantha because this whole portion, I mean, this whole trial, like, kind of has like 2 acts to it,
yeah.
right? Where it's like in the beginning, it's kind of Feyre freaking out, figuring out, pretty much once she discovers the monster and discovers all of this, and she's kind of freaking out. She's kind of like running for her life, right?
You know what it is? First act is she is the hunted. Second act, she is the hunter.
Exactly. In the first act, she is the prey. In the second
Yeah.
act, she is the predator. And it
Yes.
isn't until she kind of gets this little moment, right, when she ends up in the den
Yeah.
and she's trying to figure out how to get out and all of this stuff. And it's like once, and I kind of wrote it in my notes where it's like, it's almost like once she switches her brain into, okay, how the fuck do I get out of this extra pit that I'm in? Right.
Mhm.
And she starts creating the ladder out of the bones,
I
which is just
mean,
so, it's
genius.
so good. And when she starts doing that, it's almost like it like flips a switch in her head because that's when all the other Dias start stockpiling,
Yeah.
right? And what I find so fascinating is that on each turn, as she's kind of getting more like almost more calmed down, it's like as if her brain has kind of like accepted what's happening. Okay, this is our reality. How do we get out of this? And
Mhm.
once she is switched into that mode, we see all of these extremely clever hunter moments, right?
Mhm.
I feel like the second act really happens when she's in the den, right? When she's in the monster's den.
Yeah.
And it's literally like full huntress mode because she's in the den being like, okay, there's probably a back door somewhere because there's always a back door in a animal's den, which is just like only a hunter would
Right.
know that. Right. And then she's
Right.
like, but I'm not going to risk searching for it because the darkness is my enemy. So, nope, take that off.
So smart.
Yeah. And then what I love is these fairies mocking her actually are what gives her the idea to create a ladder. Right?
Yes.
And
It's
so
so
she's
good.
using all of these bits, right? And then as she's making the ladder, she realizes, wait a minute, I could make Feyre ends up basically making a big game trap,
Yeah.
right? So we all know about like bear traps or basically those big game traps that people make, which are just huge ass hole pits where they put sharp things at the bottom and they cover it with a bunch of leaves, right? That's
Mhm.
basically what Feyre does for this monster,
Yeah.
which again, fucking hunter mode, right? It's just like I wrote so many times of just like how incredibly like smart I feel like she is because then the pièce de résistance, she realizes earlier that he's blind, which I want to get to that
Yes.
realization. But
Yeah.
since she knows that, baby girl's like, "Oh, sense of smell.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm a roll around in the muck.
Yep.
I'm going to cover myself up because this thing can't find me if I
Right.
smell like its lair."
Yes.
So she basically does what Rhysand ends up saying, which is she has become invisible.
So fucking smart that she creates the trap. Like, and again, I think this is I'm probably going to return a lot to this whole concept of the labyrinth because like the idea, like we mentioned before in last week's episode, the idea of a labyrinth is like you are facing your kind of internal fears and like who you are just in general internally, good or not. And that is really embodied, I think, with this first challenge because through fear, Feyre is realizing her strengths,
Yeah.
right? And I think like what you just said, like that is like the culmination of her her smarts, really, right?
Yeah.
But even before that, right? Like before she comes up with the idea, before she even
Oh,
falls in the pit, the
dude.
way she realizes that the monster is blind,
It's so good. It's
like
so good.
I just sat there thinking like I could never real like in the manner she did. So as a quick reminder, around like pages 320, 21, she she wedges herself. And
Yeah.
it was a little hard for me to picture this, but like she wedges herself in between this like kind of crack from my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah. It's like a crevice.
Yeah, and she comes out the other side, I think. And she says like the monster has kind of like passed her. She said, "I risked looking at the crowd. Their faces were tight with disappointment and turned away entirely from me toward the other end of the chamber. That was where the monster had to be. That was where the passage had ended. It hadn't seen where I went. It hadn't seen me. It was blind." So she realizes it being in this little crevice, the monster should have seen her. And she's
Yeah.
right, but it didn't. It just kept
Mhm.
going. I'm realizing this is such a I feel like little ADD moment that I just had. Something that's helping me like through the imagery of this is did you ever see that episode of SpongeBob
Oh my god.
where yeah, it's the same monster, but it's just kind of cute. Like,
No, no, I'm just laughing because I just did not expect SpongeBob to be the next thing that came out
oh,
of your mouth.
there's literally a SpongeBob episode where there's a sand monster, same
Okay.
thing, and but it's just like very cute. So I just like kind of I had this moment of picturing that monster like full cartoon mode passing by Feyre. It has this like cute little face to it. I'm like, okay, this is
Just
actually
like,
helping me. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this is getting me through.
oh, good,
Sorry,
good,
I just
good.
had that random little brain moment.
That's
Uh,
incredible. I love that. Thank you for sharing. It's
you're
amazing.
welcome.
I love it.
Hopefully, if there's anyone who has similar triggers, just
We
that
got
that
you.
hopefully helps. We got you. So yeah, so she realizes that. She
Mhm.
also then realizes later that because it's blind, the only reason it even knows where she is through smell.
Right.
So what does she do? She covers herself in mud.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know where she is until she wants it to know
Right.
where she is. And how does she do that? She cuts her hand open with one of the bones
Yeah.
and lures it into that trap that she made. Like that is just so fucking brilliant, and it's just such a testament to her survival and how
Mhm.
really only Feyre. It's so funny because like earlier I know I said like I don't know if many fairies could survive this trial. And now that I think about it, no, they probably couldn't, because even the types of fairies who are hunters, they're not typically hunting for survival. They're hunting for sport,
Yeah.
right? Like when Lucian and Feyre would go out, like they're
Right.
hunting a little more for, I mean, yeah, they bring back animals to eat, sure, but not because they needed to, because it was fun, right?
Yeah.
Feyre hunted for most of her, teenage life for the survival of herself and her family. And I think that's like this is kind of a very human trial in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we really like broke it down, like I'm actually I feel like a fairy could probably,
Sure.
complete
Yeah.
this task, but it would be done in a very different way.
Yeah. I think it would depend on the fairy's class. Like if it's
Absolutely.
a high fae, I actually don't know.
They'd probably try to use their power and they'd probably weaken themselves somehow
Yeah.
by yeah. But no, I mean I completely agree in that this is a very specific to Feyre trial. Obviously, like Amarantha, she basically said that that's why she's doing this, but that's why I think it's
Yeah.
so funny that it just like Amarantha really shouldn't have done that because Feyre was able because she is a hunter,
Yep.
she was able to use all of these skills like even in the very beginning
Yeah.
of her getting dumped in, which also, okay, by the way, this whole scene in my mind is very Star Wars.
You know what's so funny is like when we were talking about the platform, I almost said like I don't know why, but like the prequels are coming up in my
Yep.
mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because in the Senate meetings, they're in
Yes.
these platforms that they're all in, and then when you speak, you float into the center to
That's
talk.
fine.
That's why that's coming out in your mind. But
Yeah.
this is giving Luke in episode 6 when they're actually in Jabba's palace and
Yeah.
the floor gets pulled and he dumps in there and it's that big
Yes.
thing that kind of anyway, it's giving that to me a little bit. So like that's a lot
Yeah.
of the imagery I have while while I'm like exploring this in my head.
No wonder you love this chapter.
Yes, it's giving Star Wars, because even just like the color scheme of everything, and
Yeah.
just like her being such an underdog and thinking about all these things. Like, I don't know. It just feels very Star Wars to me. But back to Feyre being a hunter, like, even before this kind of mental switch happens, and even before she discovers that the monster is blind,
Yeah.
she is already, even on 319, once she knows what the monster is and she starts running, she's already like making plans of survival.
Yes. Yes.
So quickly. She's like, wishing I'd memorized more of the layout in the few moments I had. I had to get as much distance between us as possible. I had to find a spot where I could make a plan, a spot I could find an advantage. Like, and that's when she finds the crevice, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like moments before this, you saw probably the biggest creature you have ever seen in your entire life. A disgusting looking thing with razor sharp teeth.
That reeks to high heaven, too.
That reeks to high heaven, coming after you. And while you're sprinting about, like, it's just like the mental wherewithal is insane to me. Like, for her to already, and like, I think those are the things. It kind of goes back to what you were saying of like, this is instinctual behavior.
Yes.
This shows that survival mode. We've talked about this throughout the entire book with Feyre, but the survival mode switch that she can turn on is incredible, because her level, she gets overwhelmed for like a second and then just kind of like flips into all of these things, like, and then even like wedging herself into the hole. It's terrifying. But then even when she's in there, she's doing this like, not like this, not like this, not like this. I'm going to get out. And she's grappling. She's trying to get out. And even when she gets out, she's like very aware she does not have time to celebrate. She has to continue going. And it's just so fucking impressive to me. Like, ugh.
I can't even imagine the adrenaline levels. Oh, like it's very much reminds me of like those stories you hear of like mothers whose like children are trapped under cars and they're somehow able to lift the entire car, because like not only does she just generally have that mental wherewithal, she's also foregoing literally all of her physical senses, like the pain of every time she slams into a wall. I mean, the pain of later when we find out her arm is ripped the fuck open, which we'll get to. The smell, like, I, as someone who is like very sensitive, I would be puking. I'd be dead in 2 seconds because I would puke, and then that monster would just immediately gobble me up. So like that, and then just being totally fine covering herself in this mud.
Yeah.
And then cutting her hand open.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that, she is a gal to have around you when you're in a survival situation. Like, that's
seriously.
what I want when there's a natural disaster or something.
What do I choose for the deserted island? I choose Feyre. That's what I choose.
Hands down.
You know what I mean? Like, holy God. Like, it's just, and what I love too is that Sarah did enough with like, this is also harkens back to, I think, really clever building and writing, is that this task alone proves why we had the first 3 to 4 chapters of this book.
Yep.
Or even just the first chapter.
You have to establish it.
Yes. Because at this point, even though we have not seen this side of her in a long time in the book, none of this is surprising as a reader. No. Like, you're going through, like, each step, you're like, you're impressed, but you're like, well, I mean, this makes sense that she would,
like, duh,
that she would go, like this girl single-handedly helped her family survive for quite some time.
Yes.
And she had to rely on all the things that we're seeing in this chapter. And so I just think it's really well done, because you're really stuck into the adrenaline of it all.
Yeah.
That it isn't until afterwards that you're like, I mean, all of that made sense, that Feyre would have been able to do that. You know, like, sometimes you get these books where you have this big finale battle. Of course, this is only Feyre's first task, so
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
sometimes you get these kind of finale task things that happen in other books, and every now and then the character will do something that you're like,
Yes.
wait, is that
How do
canon? Like,
they
do we know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this is it? Like, wait, is this something that we were supposed to always know they could do? Or I don't know, or like they'll kind
Right.
of pull something out that you're like, okay, I feel like we kind of fudged that a little bit to make this ending
Yeah.
happen or like whatever. But this has already been established. This works completely.
It's earned.
Yes.
It's very much on a literary level, it's earned.
Perfect word. Perfect word. Yes.
Speaking of very good writing, one thing I wanted to point out, and this is just for people who are new to the mass verse, Sarah is very, very intentional with the wording she uses with things. And one thing I noticed for the first time, I don't know if it's been said before, but definitely in this chapter, is the fairies, like the fairies watching her when we do hear little like comments here and there, refer to Feyre as it. So on page
Yeah.
323 for the first time, there's a quote that says, What's it doing? What's it planning?" One of the fairies hissed, which just goes to show you that these fairies don't view her as a person, as
Yeah.
sentient. Really, they view
Yeah.
her as this weak human. But what I think is even more important, it comes again later on page 324. Another fairy says, "What's it doing?" The green fairy faced whined again. A deep, elegant voice replied this time, "She's building a trap." She. Okay, not it, she. And who says this? Rhysand.
Yeah.
Then the other fairy says, "But the mitten guard," and Rhysand cuts that fairy off and says, "relies on its scent to see," Rhysand answered, and I gave a special glower for him as I glanced at the rim of the trench and found him smiling at me. And Feyre just became invisible. His violet eyes twinkled. So that's really curious that
Yeah.
all these other fairies are referring to her as it, except for Rhysand.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty significant, honestly.
And I'm so glad you pointed this out because I didn't clock that he refers to her as a sentient being. He does not refer, he gives her a pronoun, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't clocked that. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you brought that up because that is curious. Like,
Yeah.
again, this guy, I have no idea what
This
to do
guy,
with him. I have no
right?
idea what to do with him. It's fascinating because he is clearly enjoying her succeeding. Like, he's impressed
Yeah.
of what she's doing. I'm really hoping as we're under the mountain that we get some more with him actually, because it's just,
Yeah.
this is very confusing. Like, I can't tell if he's kind of just that like bratty kid,
Yeah.
right? Who just loves when their mom gets like proven wrong.
Yes.
Right. And like Amarantha is like the mom in the scenario, but like they're still bad, but they
Yes.
just like kind of love it when their authority figure gets kind of like put in their place a little bit, but they would still kick you into the mud, like that kind.
Right. Well, we talked about in the last chapter, when Amarantha confronts him on like, why did you say Claire Better was the woman you saw
Right.
in Tamlin's court? There seems to be like, there's Amarantha's agenda, which I think is pretty fucking transparent, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Rhysand, who has an agenda that seems to line up for the most part with Amarantha. But then there's this other piece that you're like, does it totally line up? I'm not quite sure.
And again, it's the, do we feel that way just because like he's a brat? Like, that's kind of why I'm bringing up the like brat thing. Like, is it that he is truly 100% with her and he's just being a total tool?
Right.
Or is Sarah starting to like, I don't know, like show us, because I mean, I think one of the things that I love about Sarah, about what she's already even shown us in this book, is the amount of gray areas in different characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, we thought Tamlin was a monster, and then look at how we feel about him now, so it's just like, it's, and there's still portions of Tamlin that we do have slight problems with, like some of his anger issues and all that stuff. But we also know how deeply he cares about Feyre. But then there's there's gray areas and characters that she has in these books. And so I'm really fascinated of just like, is he just a really good gray villain?
Yeah.
Or where are we going here? But she has definitely given us these little, I don't want to say Easter eggs, but she's just giving us these little droplets of things that you're like, what?
Yes.
And I'm so glad you brought up that pronoun moment. I really hadn't clocked that. That's a really good moment. Also, sorry, in that line, we get one of our first obscene gestures.
Wait, did I miss that?
His violet eyes twinkled. I made an obscene gesture before I broke into a run, heading straight for the worm. I don't remember if Sarah has already given us this earlier in the book or not.
She might have, but I can't remember.
But if she hasn't, anyway, I apologize if we've already talked about this, but this is a common thread with with FMCs in these like style of books where they'll give these obscene gestures.
Yes.
And everyone discusses like what they view it as, like what is the obscene gesture. I also just kind of love, like, I love a crass gal because I am crass myself. Gal. So like I love this. I myself view it as the middle finger. That's how I view the obscene gesture.
So you know what's funny is I've wondered what it is too. And I think here in America, our obscene gesture is the middle finger, right? But if you think about other cultures, like I know in Italy, it's like kind of flicking your your hand chin. Under your chin. In I think the UK, it's like what our peace sign is, funny enough.
But it's like backwards or something.
I think it's backwards. My headcanon is I think where the world of ACOTAR takes place, and I think they have their own obscene gesture that we don't even like know of.
Right.
Like what I want to believe is, even though this is one, I can't even really show it on camera, but it's like when you kind of like take your two hands and like tap it kind of like almost by your crotch, like exactly.
Fuck you, like
that's what I personally picture, because I think that's just really funny.
I mean, it's kind of like a suck it gesture, sort of, right?
It's like exactly, yeah. That's where my mind goes.
I love that. Or just like in some weird alternate universe, she does the Friends thing. Did you ever watch Friends?
Oh, yeah. What is
that Monica and Chandler used to do to each other, and it's the two arms.
Oh, yeah.
Together. Somehow in some alternate universe, that is like there. But like, I love that. I always love, though, that these authors just say obscene gesture because it is kind of going to this concept of this is a culture and a world that we don't really know what their like what is their obscene gesture, because it's so specific to like your culture and your experience and your perspective and like all this stuff. And so but this is a common thing you will see in these styles of books, especially if there's a even remotely sassy character.
Oh yeah,
an obscene gesture will happen at some point. And so I love this moment, because what I also love is that like the imagery of this, y'all. Baby girl is covered in mud in a labyrinth, getting ready to like have this monster follow her to her trap. And baby girl looks up and gives this guy an obscene gesture in the middle of all of it. Like, I love it. I love it so much. It's such good imagery. It's hilarious.
She pauses her survival mode to basically say, fuck you, my guy.
Even you, my guy.
Even though he just gave her a compliment.
He's complimenting her. But I mean, Feyre, just like us, she is confused. This is very confusing. Like the signs and things that he is giving her. It is wildly confusing, and she doesn't really have time, right? But she's just going to be a little bit of a fuck you.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that I kind of want to touch on before we get like to the end of this chapter is the beautiful, and I mentioned in the beginning, but the beautiful overall sensory language that we are given in this chapter.
Yes.
Is just so good.
So rich.
So rich. Yum, yum, yum. And like the big thing for me, so like my sound moment for this week, besides just overall the entire chapter, I mean, let's be honest. Like I literally wrote like the sound design of this all, like this entire scene is just a sound design dream.
I mean, this is the type of scene where, like, if it were to get adapted, this could win an Oscar, you
Yeah,
know?
for sound.
Yeah,
Yes. Like, I'm so glad you brought up Dune just because, like,
yeah.
the obsession I have with the sound design of Dune, specifically Dune 2,
Oh, so
um,
good.
literally cannot get over. There is
Yeah.
one scene in particular in that movie that if I could just watch it on repeat over and over and over again with an incredible
Ooh,
sound system,
wait, which
I
scene?
would. When he's writing
Yep. It's
sorry.
okay, it's okay. What if it'd be so funny if we just, like, bleep that out?
Yeah.
Like, it's a fucking curse word.
But when he like, the whole scene of him having to call it and then having to
Yeah, oh,
jump on it and everything, because I don't know if you clocked it, but true score does not come into that scene till, like, the end. I know.
so
Everything
good.
else is, like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I feel pretty confident about
That
that.
feels right.
Everything else is the sound of sand, the sound of the rumble. I mean, Mark Mangini, right? Is it Mike or Mark? It's Mark. He was the sound designer of that
Oh,
film. He didn't have to go that hard, and he fucking did. All of the sounds that he used to create the sound of the sand monster is just the level of bass that he found. And then the sound of the sand, which they actually recorded a lot of sand stuff on location, which is so fucking cool. The thumper stuff, they recorded
yeah.
layers of that on location. Not by like the location sound team, but like
Yeah,
him and some of his post team, they were either there when they were filming it, like when production was filming it,
yeah.
or they came back later, but they like went to the dunes and like recorded stuff.
Yo.
It's so cool. But anyway, so this whole thing is just a tasty treat.
Yeah.
Um, but what I would really want to focus on is pretty much the moment right after Amarantha says, release it. And it's on page 318.
I knew it was gonna be this moment.
I mean, also just like the beginning of this scene. I mean, there's so much building you get to do here with the
Yeah.
crowd and all of this stuff. What I love about this moment is it says, release it, Amarantha called. I trembled to the marrow of my bones as a great groaned, and then a slithering, swift moving noise filled the chamber. My shoulders rose towards my ears. The crowd quieted to a murmur, silent enough to hear a guttural kind of grumble, so I could feel the vibrations in the ground as whatever it was rushed at me. Amarantha clicked her tongue, and I whipped my head to her. Her brow rose. Run, she whispered.
I, like, see a close-up on her, like, scarlet lips saying that, you know?
Yeah. But so just ugh, I mean, in Ariel, I'm not surprised she knew that I was going to choose this because one of my favorite things is to find power within like quieter moments and power within like
Mhm.
silence and kind of stuff like that. And so can you just imagine the fear of Feyre? She's in this cacophonous environment.
Yeah.
And the minute Amarantha says release it, a groaning grate, and then this fervor sound, everything starts going down. And all you hear is gargantuan, but like slithering. Like,
Well, and
ooh!
how terrible? Because, like, I imagine like, I still have chills from you, like, whispering "run," like, how
Yeah,
quiet it get, and then, like, how
exactly.
just, like, booming
Yeah,
it would be right after as it
yeah.
comes, like, crashing out, like, "Ugh,
Yeah, it would be
ugh."
so and, like, she doesn't just do it with sound, right? She also does it with just, like, Feyre's entire experience, like, sliding and slipping on the reeking mud. The crowd roared, drowning out the slurping and gnashing noises of the worm. The ever-nearing stench, cold, reeking, smothering. I couldn't see it as it approached. The smell, though, the smell was growing worse. I could almost feel its reeking breath upon my half-exposed body. The smell nearly overpowering my senses, a stench wrapped right around me. Like, oh my God, the
Sensory
just
overload.
sensory overload, but it's so good, especially the smell, particularly, right? Because when she's in the crevice, right, her back is exposed,
Yeah.
right? and she knows the back is faced towards the monster.
Right.
And the only way she knows it is coming closer is because the
Smell.
stench gets worse.
Ugh.
And then the irony of it all, of it being that the only way the monster can find her is how she smells.
Yep.
Like, it's just, she's giving you foreshadowing in such a way that, like, you don't
even
feel
know
it
it.
more than you clock it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
It's very
it's,
subconscious.
this whole chapter is so visceral. And what I love too is she slammed, like, all of those little quotes that I just read you are literally from page 318 and 320. And then after that, she kind of like calms down the sensory description and brings you
Yes.
to more of the mental place with Feyre. And it's just a slight baby masterclass, I think, because if she were to have
Yeah.
continued a lot of that sensory type stuff, like throughout the whole thing, you would start becoming desensitized to it. But because she
Yes.
kind of jam packs it in the beginning to build the fear, she then can basically like pull it away. But because you're
Well,
already there, it's just so good.
it's also showing you in real time how I mean, we are in first person. So,
Yeah.
like, it's showing you how Feyre's survival part of her brain is kicking in. It's first
Yep.
sensory overload, as it would be with anyone, no matter how trained you are. And as she's pretty quickly gaining a grip on her adrenaline, she's almost like drowning out those senses and hyper focusing on what do I need to do to survive?
Oh, brilliant point, Ariel.
I mean,
Yeah.
brilliant writing. Like, it's so
Yeah, no, but,
good.
like, I hadn't thought about it in that way of that, like, that's actually, like, Feyre's experience, like, of course,
Yeah.
the senses are heightened at the top, and then as
Yes.
she focuses, wow, yes, yeah,
I
wow.
really think, we've talked about this before, and those who have read any of the other books in the Massverse know this, ACOTAR is her only series that's in most of the
Mhm,
books are in first person.
mhm.
Um, and I think that is part of the reason, aside from the smut, that it is her most popular series, which isn't, I mean, I love Crescent City and Throne of Glass, and might get flack for this, but actually, ACOTAR is not my favorite of her
Yeah,
series, Throne of Glasses. But I get why. I mean, I do love ACOTAR so much. I get why people love it so much, and I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that we are in first person and we're
mhm,
really seeing like these like as brilliantly as she writes her other series, she cannot write like this scene in those series because they're in third person,
right,
right?
right.
So I just I love it.
Yeah. It's just so good. This whole chapter is just such a visceral experience. And also just like I love how much them mocking her gives her pieces of info. Cuz
Yeah.
like for instance, when Amarantha is like yelling at her to like get out of the pit,
Yeah.
that's Feyre's way of knowing like okay, cool, I have time.
Right.
The thing's
Yeah.
nowhere near me. Amarantha's
Yes.
upset that there's no entertainment going on. So she wants me to like do like she's just using all these cues, and then the stepping stool is what has her make the ladder, and then even later the fairies are so bored they're feeding the monster something,
And she knows
right?
that's how it's over there
And
and
she
not
knows
close
that's
to
how it's over
her.
there, but that's also how she's able to 100% know that her mud covering is working, right? Because
Yeah.
that's when she kind of comes in and like leans over. Like
Yeah.
I just love how she ends up using these fairies like to help her succeed. Like it's so good.
It's so funny because I think Amarantha, as clever as she can be, I think we're kind of seeing her Achilles heel
Yeah.
a bit. And I think what it is she she can't help but kind of give away
Mhm.
when she is not happy.
Yeah.
And that actually brings me to my directing moment at the
Yes.
very end of this. I almost
Yes.
said this series, the end of this chapter. It's
Mhm.
on page 327. And it starts off with this is after Feyre has defeated the monster. And she says, I looked up at her, Amarantha, from beneath lowered brows and didn't check myself as I exposed my teeth. Her lips were thin, and she no longer grasped Tamlin's knee. Tamlin. My Tamlin. I tightened my grip on the long bone in my hand. I was shaking all over, but not with fear. Oh no, it wasn't fear at all. I'd proven my love, and then some. Well, Amarantha said with a little smirk, I suppose anyone could have done that. I took a few running steps and hurled the bone at her with all my remaining strength. It embedded itself in the mud at her feet, splattering filth on her white gown, and remained there, quivering. The fairies gasped again, and Amarantha stared at the wobbling bone before touching the mud on her bodice. She smiled slowly. Naughty, she tisked. Which again, kind of cunty.
So cunty. Yeah.
But like this badass bitch,
Oh,
like she survives this task knowing Amarantha probably wants to kill her even more now for embarrassing. I mean, Amarantha has egg on her face at
absolutely.
this
She
point.
literally gets mud on her.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
yes, egg on her face for sure.
And she still has the audacity in a good way to fling that bone at Amaranth. Like, what a badass. And I
Ugh.
think what the reason I chose this moment, aside from it just being just so delicious, is this is a power dynamic shift
Yep.
moment, right? Feyre is kind of holding the cards more than she previously has, at least. I mean, Amarantha for sure has most of the cards because, you know, she still has Feyre trapped and everyone trapped.
Yeah.
But like showing someone up in this way when I mean, at one point Amarantha, she's talking about how pretty much everyone in her court bet on her dying. She says like uh yes, I'd say almost my entire court bet on you dying within the first minute. Some said you'd last at least 5. Like everyone thought she was going to die except for one person who very curious to know who that person is
Yep.
who won all this money.
Yep.
Uh but yeah, it's this huge power dynamic shift, and I would definitely want to play. I'm not going to go too far into the details, but like I'd want to play with camera angles because in film, high and low camera angles are
Mm.
very intentional to show who has the power in a scene or in a moment of a scene. So
Mhm.
if you're at a low angle looking up at someone, that's usually to suggest that they have power. And then if you're at a high angle, the camera's at a high angle and you're looking down at someone, that's to show that they are in a submissive position. So I'd probably start off the whole scene, the whole chapter with Amarantha having very low angles, us looking up at her and us looking down at Feyre, and then switch that in this moment where we're looking down at Amarantha and looking up at Feyre.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah.
Hell yes. That's so dope. That's such a cool idea.
It'd be a little weird because Amarantha is floating on a platform, but
Well, but at that point, Feyre is technically at the same level as her,
yeah,
right? I think.
yeah, in
So
some
yeah, so I think she's like out of the labyrinth at that point. So I
yeah,
mean, like they're at, because she says like, if there had not been an insurmountable trench between us, I would have ripped her throat.
right.
That makes me feel like they're at the same level, just really far away from each other. So I
Yep.
love that. That's so cool because I love this moment so much because yeah, you can feel the shift.
Yeah.
Like she's not Farrah's not hiding her ferocity anymore.
No.
And I mean it makes sense. There's a level of kind of, she probably feels like a little bit of like tough shit right now,
Yeah.
like
She's
she
literally showing her teeth.
she just fucking did that. She fucking
Yeah.
did that. She killed that
Yeah.
fucking monster. And so I think it's such a cool moment and I love that you chose that because yeah, it gives like things are shifting. But what I find terrifying is that at the end of the day, Amarantha is still the one with the power here.
Yeah.
And what I'm now terrified about the second task because Feyre did embarrass her.
Yep.
And Amarantha is not going to underestimate her again. Like
No.
this was Amarantha hardcore underestimating her. And she's not going to make that same mistake. Like we still
No.
have to remember who Amarantha is. Amarantha is a terrifying like war general,
Yeah.
right? So it's like and old as
And
fuck.
a torturer.
Exactly. So it's just, while I am so stoked for Feyre, I'm now terrified of what this is going to mean for her. But I feel like we got bigger fish to fry before that second task, because
this arm.
the arm. Because, and
Yeah.
like, it's really interesting how Sarah writes this in the chapter, because I think this is so crazy that Feyre puts all these stakes in the ground in the pit, right?
Mhm.
And supposedly leaves one little spot.
I know.
That
I
baby girl
know.
just dives, arms wide open,
Yes. Like a
Creed music
swan.
video style.
Yes.
But like 90s rock band music video
Yep.
stance, right?
Yep.
Like swan dives into this pit and just basically like skewers herself in the
Yeah.
arm, right?
And
It's
it's
like,
gnarly.
because she even says, she's like, I swung my arms as I careened down, aiming for the spot I had planned. Pain barked through my bones, my head, as I collided with the muddy ground and rolled. I flipped over myself and screamed as something hit my arm, biting through flesh. And then it's like, as the adrenaline stops, as the adrenaline starts going away, we start losing baby girl. She's like, as they yanked me away, a shooting pain shot along my arm and agony blanketed my senses. Literally, like, she looks down and she can see, like, her skin is pulled back and she can see the shaft of the bone protruding through.
And for clarification, that's her bone, not the bone she landed. Like, her bone is protruding. At least that was mine.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's her bone. So the way it's described on page 328, she says, I looked at my left forearm and my stomach rose at the trickling of blood and ripped tendons at the lips of skin pulled back to accommodate the shaft of bone shard protruding clean through it. So I read that as it's her bone.
Oh, see, I read it as the shaft of a bone shard, as in one of the bones that she made into the skewers to put at the bottom.
That's a good question.
But it would almost make more sense if it was her bone, if there was that much skin pulled back.
That's what I was thinking.
But then she would literally not be able to use this at all then, because it's broken, basically.
I don't think she can. Because remember, this is her left
God.
arm. So
Yeah.
presumably she's a righty. So yeah.
That actually makes it worse that it's her bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that means her bone has cracked.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was my idea, that's like a knife. I mean, it's probably big, but actually, the more I think about it, I think you're totally right. I think it's hers.
I mean, we'll find out in the next chapter, because this is, without spoiling much, this is an issue. It remains an issue into the next chapter.
Well, the last line of this freaking thing is, I couldn't even glance back at Tamlin, couldn't find Lucien to say thank you before pain consumed me whole and I could barely manage to walk back to myself.
Yeah. This is, I mean, aside from being scared of how Amarantha is going to punish her in the next challenge, which, mind you, is at least a month away.
Yeah.
Now we're left wondering, how is she going to heal? I mean, there's always the possibility of Lucien sneaking back in. I do think that possibility is a lot.
I don't know if he can do that again.
Exactly. I think it's a pretty slim possibility. So the question is, how is she going to, because like a broken nose is one thing, bone protruding from your arm, and also
like a huge wound,
and she's covered in mud. So,
oh God,
infection.
Well, on that note,
hope you're not about to eat. We're gonna take a break. We always take a little break in between spoiler and non-spoiler, and I unfortunately have to go eat lunch now. So this is gonna be real fun. But next week, your homework is chapters 37 and 38. We're gonna find out how she overcomes or doesn't overcome this really horrible wound. In the meantime, we would love it if you subscribed, rated, and reviewed us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. It really helps us get out there to other people, other ACOTAR fans, and people getting into ACOTAR. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod, where we're having a real fun time over there, honestly. It's been great lately.
Yeah.
And if you want to tell us your theories, tell us if you also have a weird phobia for these types of things like I do. So I know I'm not
Share.
alone. Yeah, share. You can email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com.
Yep. Woof. All right. Well, hoping for our baby girl. But yeah, well, thanks for coming along, team. And as always, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. Bye, guys.
Bye.